Today on the show, we talk about some new dining experiences opening in Disney Springs, what Black Panther crossing the $700 million mark could mean for Disney parks, we recall a lost attraction, and we share our top 5 favorite transportation methods to get you around Walt Disney World. All that and more on this episode of WDW Opinion. Cue the music.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
This is the podcast where two friends, Connor
You are a child's plaything!
and Hank,
You are a sad, strange little man, and you have my pity.
share their opinions, tips, and stories about anything and everything at Walt Disney World.
Trust me, what could go wrong?
Get ready, because this is WDW Opinion.
We're in the tower. We are ready for takeoff.
Hello and welcome to episode number 6 of the WDW Opinion podcast. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Connor Brown and I'm joined by my Disney partner in crime, the one, the only, Mr. Hank Molsky. Hank, celebrity chef Guy Fieri just opened a new restaurant in Disney Springs called Chicken Guy. So are you preparing to make a pilgrimage to Flavortown, USA the next time you're in Disney Springs?
I've got my tips frosted and a fire t-shirt ready to go. So
Oh, it's fire.
oh boy. I've got a very strange Guy Fieri story of one of my coworkers having him rub sauce on her face while she ate food. And the producers told her that it was so funny and it would definitely make the final cut. And it didn't.
Okay, so I assume that this was for diners, drive-ins, and dives.
Yes.
Okay. What? Where was it? What sauce was Mr. Fieri rubbing on her face?
Actually, it was a hot dog that she had at Senate, which is a restaurant in Cincinnati, Ohio, and over the Rhine. Connor, you've been? Where they have gourmet hot dogs and they're lathered with a whole bunch of stuff. And I guess he fed her the hot dog and got all over her face. And they said it was hilarious. And don't worry, sorry if that was demeaning because it'll definitely make the final cut. But I guess he was nice. Rub sauce in your face, but a nice guy.
I hear he's super cool.
Yeah, I love seeing interviews with Guy Fieri. He just seems like a cool dude.
And for all the crap that people give him,
Yeah.
I mean, he seems awesome. He seems like a really, really good dude.
Yeah.
Well, we'll talk a little bit more about Guy Fieri coming up, but before we get into the show, a couple housekeeping things to get squared away. Firstly, if you're not following us on social media, be sure to check us out on Twitter and Instagram. We are at WDW Opinion there. And you can also like our Facebook page at facebook.com/WDW Opinion. Also, if you want more WDW Opinion in between shows, be sure to head over to the blog for all our latest Disney and Universal posts. There you can also sign up for our weekly newsletter to get everything WDW Opinion delivered right to your inbox. Visit WDWopinion.com for more info on that. And I know Hank and I would love to do a listener question episode. So if you got Disney questions, email them to us, Connor, CONOR, at WDWopinion.com. We'll consolidate, we'll gather. Hopefully we'll be able to answer them in a future episode. We'd love to hear from you. So, with all that said, let's get into the show. It's time for News to Opinion. This is our weekly segment where we share a Disney news story for the past week and then discuss our thoughts and opinions on what this means for the parks. My news stories this week is that new dining options are coming to Disney Springs. Hank, it seems like new dining options are always coming to Disney Springs.
Oh, fast and furious these days.
And it seems, we are well into the refurbishment of Downtown Disney becoming Disney Springs. Pretty much at the end of it, for the most part. But every week, every month, we're still getting new announcements of new things coming. Restaurants,
It comes
stores,
quick,
all this stuff.
Quick now. to your point, two stories for you this week, right?
Exactly. That's right. Like I said at the top of the show, Chicken Guy opens, I guess it was last week it originally opened.
Yeah.
But this was almost overnight. I know I found a blog post posted only in June that basically found out that Chicken Guy was posting jobs and things like that, and it opened 2 months later. The Disney Parks blogs announced it in July, and it opened in August. Chicken Guy, which opened by Planet Hollywood, and this is important because Guy Fieri was brought in the refurbishment of Planet Hollywood a couple years back to be the celebrity chef, basically. He created the menu with the Planet Hollywood people. It reopened as Planet Hollywood Observatory, and in the base of it now, Chicken Guy opens. So it's a new restaurant in Disney Springs, and it's a quick service restaurant. So the restaurant focuses on chicken, hand-pounded, breaded. It has like chicken fingers, chicken sandwiches. People are saying it's really, really good. Another dining location in Planet Hollywood that's quick but also super affordable. I was looking at the menu. It seems like sandwiches are like $6-7, which is really good.
That didn't even seem right.
No.
When you look at the menu there, you're like, wait, that can't be right.
I did a double take on it, and people are saying you get a lot of food too. Even the chicken fingers itself, you get a lot of food.
You know what I genuinely did though? Now that I'm recalling this, I pulled up the wrong city. This is not until I genuinely was like, oh, okay, this is like, it's so new. I pulled up the menu for the wrong city.
Yeah.
Nope. No.
And as someone who lives in DC, who is used to very high prices no matter where I go, this was like, oh wow, this is super affordable.
Yeah.
Another one of the big pulls with this restaurant is the signature sauces. I'm talking donkey sauce, wasabi honey,
See, this is what you get with Guy Fieri.
the lemon pepper, avocado crema, a little peri peri. But there's 22 different sauces. You can try all of them for free. But don't worry if you forget them when you're up at the register, because they have their very own sauce slinger. A sauce slinger is a guy who goes around to people's tables, and he has like a holster of
Sounds
the
like a
sauces.
wizard.
He's like,
Yeah.
"You need some more sauce?" Pulls it out, squirts it right onto your platter for you.
That sounds like the story I just told you, only it was Guy Fieri going around rubbing hot dogs in people's faces.
It's just like another one of
He's
those
really run with this idea.
over the top things. But I mean, people like it. People really seem to like it. So
Yeah, sounds cool.
I'll get chicken fingers. I'll get chicken fingers anywhere. They also have salads, side dishes, a couple desserts. So it looks like a good new addition to Disney Springs.
Yeah, Connor, now that was great. Get to the place that you are excited about now.
Four Rivers food truck coming to Disney Springs. Four Rivers is a barbecue joint in Central Florida, mainly in Orlando. They have a couple locations in Tampa and things like that, places like that. Gainesville, I think they have one as well.
I think they're all the way up to Atlanta. I looked at the other day.
Yeah, that's right. They did open one in Atlanta. I forgot about that. Hank and I have been to one of their actual brick and mortar locations, their barbecue locations. I've been there several times when I lived down there. They also had a chicken place that I went to. It's very good. The barbecue is awesome. You like the barbecue, right, Hank?
Oh, yeah. That's all I've had.
Yeah, it's some of the best barbecue I've ever had. And it's just a huge following in Central Florida, in Orlando.
Yeah.
The Disney Parks blog announced that Four Rivers will soon have a food truck coming to Disney Springs. This new establishment will be called the Four Rivers Cantina Barbacoa Food Truck, and it'll be located at Disney Springs Marketplace beginning in late August. I assume that this is going to be where the other food trucks are parked.
Sure.
But it says the Marketplace, which is the other side. So I don't know.
You assume wrong.
So they do have food trucks now over by kind of like the House of Blues, a little bit more over towards where Bongos is. But those food trucks are just Disney owned and operated, and you can get like food from the parks and stuff. It doesn't seem like anything special. This is their very own Four Rivers dedicated food truck. It looks like it's going to be theirs. Like they bring it there, park it there. Who knows how long it's going to last. But they have, culinary culture of Mexico City. Taco cones. Ooh, those taco cones look good. Burrito bowls.
Yeah. Yep.
Stuff like that. I'll be interested to see what it is because, like I said, they do focus on barbecue. So we'll see if this holds up. I know they do have a quesadilla option at their barbecue location. I know one of a good listener to the podcast, a good friend of the podcast, really loves their quesadillas. So hopefully this can hold up for him.
Yeah,
but
that'll be the ultimate judge.
What I really like about this is it's another sign of Disney bringing in local Orlando, local Florida vendors and things like that to sell stuff. It started with the Polite Pig. The Polite Pig is owned by people who have a couple restaurants in Winter Park, Florida, which is not too far away from Disney. They're doing this now. So it's really a place where Disney Springs, Disney's big intention was taking it from a tourism place to a place that could cater to locals. And they're bringing in these local flavors that they know. Hopefully that's pulling them in more. I just think it's a good idea.
All for it.
All for it. So, Hank, what's your news story of the week?
I realized after I picked this that I've done it 2 weeks in a row now, but I've gone to film. I've gone to Disney Film for the news, but this is significant. So, record-breaking Black Panther has now been the third film to cross $700 million domestically. Boy, I tripped through that title. But Black Panther had been sitting at $6.99 for weeks on end, and they had been getting really close. But it just tipped over just on August 6th. So, big moment for Disney. It joins Avatar and Star Wars, two other very sizable IPs that will be present in Disney World. I think it's interesting, Connor, if we always like to tie stuff back to the parks and see, how that can tie in. And I think it's pretty obvious. There is no Black Panther. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is there any Black Panther anywhere in Orlando, Florida, like even in Universal?
No, there's nothing dedicated to them.
But that contract, that sticky contract, does keep Black Panther out of Orlando from what we can tell. Like we've said before in the past, it may or may not be covered, but the public will never really know what's in that. But it's pretty obvious that Disney has got no problem rolling him out in Anaheim because he's made some appearances in the park out there, and some Wakanda vehicles have driven through, that type of thing. I think you'll see a very large presence of that out in Anaheim. But it does, if we go news to opinion on this thing, my opinion is, I think because of the world that Wakanda has created and the ease that you could just float it into the rest of the theming with Animal Kingdom, don't you just think that would be the perfect piece out there, even more so than Zootopia, having a Wakanda in that back part of the park back there where Planet Watch is? Because I know there's always these rumors about filling that in back there.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. I mean, I think it makes as much sense as Avatar, and it probably makes even more sense than Avatar.
It does.
Especially if you can position it where it's close to Africa.
Right. And it is in Africa.
Right.
You know?
Right.
It would be cool. I don't doubt that you can't look away from the money that they've made like that, and seeing the fact that, even Avatar, because it did, make billions and billions of dollars, found its way into a park, even if it wasn't, the most sacred IP in the world. Star Wars obviously has always had a place coming for a Disney park. You'd think that Black Panther, with that kind of money and that kind of following, would be able to find a sizable home more so than just nestled inside a Marvel land. But who knows?
I think there's too much behind it. There's too much potential to not put it somewhere.
Yeah.
We also have to consider how big this is overseas as well.
Yeah.
There's a lot of either things that have been announced attraction-wise or attractions that are already opened in the parks out there, meaning in Hong Kong, in Shanghai, Tokyo. Disneyland Paris is even transforming an entire hotel to have a Marvel overlay. Hotel New York is becoming the Marvel Hotel. So this impact is on a global scale. So maybe we don't get it first in Orlando. It would suck. I think if there's going to be a big investment, it has to be in Orlando. But, we have to consider that there's plenty of other theme parks that Disney has to think about as well.
And then you just think about how well, for, the best comparison I think there's that blend of nature and tech in Pandora, and how well they did that, how well they integrated that. And I think that you see a lot of that, like old world, African culture that they've integrated into that film. And I just think that they could blend that, the Wakandan technology really well into a park. I think it would be beautiful.
And I think the big theme of Animal Kingdom that is almost always entirely overlooked is the park is just as much about just straight animals as it is the relationship of humans, community with animals.
Correct. And there is a lot of that in the film too.
Right, which, it's not all about animals in Black Panther, but there's a relationship with the world and things like that.
Yeah.
It's just hit after hit for Disney and Marvel.
The fun don't stop.
The fun don't stop. This is a new segment we are trying out this week on the show called In Memoriam. Longtime head of Imagineering Marty Sklar would often say Disneyland is not a museum. What he meant by that is sometimes you have to say goodbye to one attraction in order to say hello to a new one. Times change and technologies advance. Imagineering will always be looking to create new and exciting attractions for fans to enjoy, but sometimes the spot of an old attraction is the perfect place for a new one. This is the segment where we honor the attractions of the past and remember them fondly. Our first attraction we are holding this service for is Food Rocks. Hank, do you ever recall remembering this attraction at all?
Connor, I can't say ridden it. I never experienced Food Rocks, but I am very familiar with the shocking YouTube videos of singing fruits.
Shocking, neither here nor there. Shocked with awesomeness, right? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. I was trying to think of a food pun there, like I can't.
Yeah, we didn't workshop this before, so just let's just roll with it.
Yeah.
Food Rocks actually replaced another attraction, so this In Memoriam can kind of be a twofer.
Double dip.
The original was Kitchen Cabaret, which opened in the Land Pavilion, I believe on park opening of Epcot. Yeah, but it was basically the same. Kitchen Cabaret was the same, which what took over in 1994, which was Food Rocks. Food Rocks was an attraction, as I said, in the Land Pavilion. It was a musical stage show with audio animatronic figures. The theme of the show was it was a benefit concert for good nutrition, hosted by Fudd Rapper. Incredible name,
Boy.
Fudd Rapper, who was voiced by
Fuddruckers.
Did you have Fuddruckers in Cincinnati?
Oh yes, we did. Those grilled cheeses were something to behold.
The size of your head. Grilled cheese is the size of your head. Fudd Rapper hosted, and he was voiced by real-life rapper Tone Loc. You know who Tone Loc is, right?
Yeah.
Wild Thing. That's it. That's my...
Yeah, I'm not even gonna try.
That's
just
fine,
I'm
that's
gonna
fine,
cut
that's
it there. Don't continue.
However, the show was continually interrupted by the excess, a junk food, heavy metal band that detests nutrition. I can't make this up, I swear. In the end, Excess obviously loses their power as Fudd Rapper exclaims, "No power. You guys have been unplugged." Oh, that was good. There's another sentence, but I don't want to read it.
That was pretty good. That was pretty good, though.
My voice will hurt. So all the animatronic characters were food items with human features. If a human with animal features is anthropomorphic, what do you think a food with human features is?
Terrifying. That's all I got. I mean, I know. So I've seen the videos before, but they're kind of like those old. It's like kind of a Blair Witch Project kind of feel to it, where you're like in a dark room with a crummy old camera because it's the
because
late
the
90s,
guy that
early 2000s.
had the camera was put on his shoulder. So he had to hunch down.
It's a horror film. I'm telling you, it's a horror film.
It's a horror film. There's bad lighting, all this sorts of stuff. We're just talking about the average Joes who the average Joes who recorded it.
Yeah.
So these audio animatronic characters were food items with human features. The music was based on popular songs by well-known performers with lyrics adapted to the topic of nutrition. Okay, Hank, this is the best part. I'm going to read some of the songs, what they're a parody of, and then the fictional group.
Oh, people get a kick out of these numbers.
Beach Boys' Good Vibrations in Food Rocks was performed by the Peach Boys, and the song was Good Nutrition.
Yeah, boy.
I mean, it writes itself. You're
not going to read all 12 of these, are you?
No, I just picked a couple. Peter Gabriel, Sledgehammer, is sung by PETA Gabriel for the song High Fiber. Ooh, that's a good one. Little Richard, his song was called Tutti Frutti, and they just kept it Tutti Frutti.
Boo!
Lame. Yeah. Chubby Checker's The Twist. They named him Chubby Cheddar, and it's Let's Exercise. That's a good one.
The name's pretty good on that one.
That's a real good one. And then at the end, you had a grand finale featuring the entire cast parodying Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody for Choose Before You Chew. That one wasn't the best, but I forgot. The Police's Every Breath You Take. The fictional group was just Refrigerator Police. Not very creative on that one. And it was Every Bite You Take. That one was good. That one was real good.
Beautiful.
For me, I don't know why I so fondly remember this attraction. Maybe because even when I was a child, I could cognizantly recall saying, this is ridiculous.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Because that's like late 90s, early 2000s. Because
Yeah.
it closed in 2004, right?
But I also think this is the first memory I have of an attraction closing. Like, I would always go to this attraction.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
then the next time I went, I realized, oh, it's closed. What happened to it?
Yep. You see, that's funny because I don't know if your family was all like this too, or I'd be curious to hear what the listeners say too about it. Were there any parts of the parks that like your family in particular, or the people that took you there, because mine was my grandparents, always went with my grandparents, wouldn't go to? So the land pavilion was actually like a pretty foreign territory to me until Soarin' opened up, because they just didn't go to the land. And then like I got to start doing living with the land then, because you'd pour out and you'd be like, oh, what's this? There's food over here. You can eat the food from the park. There's Soarin'. It's great. The buildings, well, last time I went in there, Connor, it was not air conditioned. It was hot.
Oh,
in
really?
The land. Yeah. I was going to say, it's nice because it's air conditioned. No, it was not.
For me, growing up, we would always go there because we would always watch this, and we would always go on Living with the Land. But
Lucky man.
a couple of times I would also eat at Garden Grill, which is the
Garden
rotating one. But they also say that olfactory sense, like your sense of smell,
I was just talking about this the other day.
is the strongest sense you have from a memory perspective. The land pavilion is one of the first smell memories I have. as well.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah. Like, as soon as I walk in, I'm like, we are in the land. We are in the land right now. I like this ride, this attraction, just because for as corny and as cheesy as it is, it does tell a story. It's perfect in the Epcot edutainment idea. Epcot was basically created to educate people, but do it while they're being entertained. They don't have to tell the entire story of nutrition, but it's important for people to know what it's about. They get entertained by it. They're in there for 12 minutes. Then maybe when they go home, they'll research it more. Stuff like that.
Yep.
It was good.
Now it's an airport-themed queue.
Starring a great chief flight attendant.
Yeah, that is a good part of it.
On January 3rd, 2004, Food Rocks closed to make way for Soarin'. Which I can honestly say, as much as I love this ride,
Yeah.
probably
riddance.
probably was for the better. Soarin' opened, I believe, on May 5th, 2005, so about a year and a half later. It's a quick turnaround for a gigantic pavilion and stuff like that, you know. This was just one show area. Think of like a Mickey's PhilharMagic. I think it was a little smaller, though. But they just had to clear that out so they could add on the show building in the back. So
That's quick. I didn't realize they put it up that fast. I guess they already had built the mechanism once.
like, it had to have been the mechanism. Other than that, it was just
Yeah.
building
Because, I mean,
a
they did it in
gigantic show
California.
building. Yes.
Right.
Right.
So it wasn't like they were doing it for the first time. You literally had the connector set.
Yeah. They brought it to Epcot. It's been a star ever since, even in its refurb, when it's now become Soarin' over the world. Well, in every one of these in memoriams, I think what we should do is have a moment of silence for this lost attraction. Before Hank cries anymore, rest in peace, Food Rocks. Now it's time for our main segment, our top 5 methods of Disney transportation. Planes, trains, and automobiles. There's a ton of ways to get to Walt Disney World, but there are almost just as many methods of transportation to get you around Walt Disney World once you arrive. For many, the different methods of transportation are part of the fun of a Disney vacation. Some have a method that they have to ride each time, and others even treat different vehicles like attractions in and of themselves. Today we want to share our favorite Disney transportation methods with you. We'll tell you why we like them, share tips for utilizing them, and we may even throw in some fun facts. It's all about the vehicles today on WDW Opinion. Hank, in your opinion, are the transportation methods part of the fun at Disney World, or are they just a means to an end, so to speak, to get you from point A to point B?
What do you think I'm going to say? This is a Disney podcast. Of course they're fun. And that, I think you talked a little bit earlier about, like, you know, the nostalgia factor in play. There's just something about riding those things that you're immediately tied to the area. It's unshakable. Always been there. The transportation, they've embedded it as a part of the experience.
The things I'm fascinated with about the most in Disney World is that the infrastructure behind certain things. I say this a lot, but Disney World is truly a world on that scale. It's twice the size of the island of Manhattan. It's absolutely gigantic. There's infrastructure in everything, and Disney transportation is at the heart and soul of that. Getting from point A to point B, shuttling guests all over the place. This stuff, and it's probably because I'm a Disney nerd, it just fascinates me. There's so many different methods, so many quantities of these methods. And it's like Hank's saying, it's part of your vacation. It's been there forever. And for a lot of these things, if you take them out of Disney World, they're just a bus. A bus doesn't make you smile. But when that front of the bus lights up and says Magic Kingdom, you bet I'm going to smile because I know I'm about to step onto it.
Yeah, that's good.
So I think what we're going to do is we're going to share our top 5 methods. So I think at least what I have, some of these are the same methods, but they're just different vehicles.
Oh, okay.
Right?
I tried to do different total. I went totally different, which is fine.
Okay, that's perfect. That's perfect. I think that's great. I try to be as like non-rule centric whenever I throw these ideas at Hank.
I broke a rule.
What rule did you break?
I don't know. Well, you'll see on the list.
There are no
Didn't
wrong
tell you.
answers here. Well, wait
There
a
we
second.
go.
Wait a second. I'll be the judge of that. Possibly no wrong answers here. Hank, do you want to start? You want me to start?
Go for it, Connor. Tell me number 5.
My number 5, which I think could actually be a lot higher, and this is one I think people are might overlook. The Magical Express from the airport.
I thought about putting that on mine.
Oh, it
is on mine. It is on mine.
Oh God.
It's my number 4. I'll talk about it then too.
The Magical Express from the airport. There's nothing happier in the world than this bus ride.
Or more soul-crushing than getting a ticket on your door that says the Magical Express is picking you up tomorrow.
Well, that's exactly why I didn't put the Magical Express from the resort back to the airport on this, because that's something we like to call the Tragical Express.
Yeah.
Everyone's a little more quiet, not a whole lot's going on. You have stupid Bernard or whatever the guy's name, Jared.
It's
Joel,
like
Joel or Jared. It's either Joel or Jared.
It's like he's explaining how to for you to plan your funeral on the way back.
He's telling you how much fun you can have at the Orlando International Airport, and he's talking about it like it's Disney World. I don't need to hear that.
Yeah, it's soul crushing.
But going there, it's awesome. Hank, last week you were talking about you've never been in a happier line than at the very end of the night in Flight of Passage. Like everyone was talking to each other. This is exactly how I feel on the Magical Express.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like you arrive at the airport, your plane lands, you start to see the signs. They're the cast members that greet you. You get in the line. You get on this gigantic bus.
You use the band for the first time for a lot of people. They've never used it before.
You use the band. The tone has been set for your Disney vacation.
Yeah.
You take it there. You find out about the latest things in the park on the TV. You arrive on Disney property. It's great. It's a great way to start.
Yeah, that's good. I'll go ahead and I'll just say mine since I've already spoiled it.
So you had this at number 4 for you, right?
Yeah, same stuff. I think it's also pretty cool that the fact that you're not just on like one of those. You've taken one of those buses to like the long-term parking lot or something at the airport where you just stack all your suitcases up at the front and everyone just kind of sits sideways on the bus in the back. You could be on one of those on something like a retrofitted, just bus around the park type of vehicles. But it is like, one of those, luxury buses because they have to store a lot of luggage underneath. And it's a fun experience. They're not the nicest in the world, but you're up high. You got the TVs, even though they're like CRT TVs that are, from the 1990s and everything, Bernard or whatever his name is all out of date. But it's cool. I think they do a really good job.
And it's also one of those things where the logistics behind it is so cool. Like you get your tickets in the mail, like everything's set up for you. They take your bags and magically arrive if you choose to do that. And then there's also this like aura of when you're sitting up high, you see like the cars down behind you. You're like, everyone knows where I'm going right now.
Yeah, exactly. You definitely do. And I will never. Interestingly enough, one of my best memories of going into Disney World was on a Magical Express. It was actually when I was coming to meet up with you this past December, Connor. The bus driver was fantastic. He was talking a lot over the PA system, and he was good. He was charismatic, and he was he just had like a little bit of like a Hispanic tone in his voice, and I just remember like the little bit of accent that he had, and he was like, "Welcome to Walt Disney World," and it was like the most exciting bus I've ever been on. Everyone was like so pumped up, and he was like such a great character.
Yeah. Disney World.
Oh, it
Let's
was
do
awesome.
it.
We were pumped going through those gates. It
That's
was
sweet.
cool.
That's sweet.
Welcome to Walt Disney World. It was great. It was great.
So what was your number 5 then?
Number 5. So I did break the rules here a little bit, but I do think you can't discredit it. And it was to express what I wanted to put below it, even more so than what it was at number 5. I said your own 2 feet on the resort loop, because I think a lot of people need to realize that you being able to walk from the Contemporary, or walk from, even if you wanted to, between the Polynesian and the Grand Floridian, which Connor, you and I have done several times, along those paths, along the beachfront, along that path, I could really just toss in a bike as well, because you can take a bike between these properties.
Not a Surrey bike though. Not
No.
a Surrey bike.
No.
Good God.
I needed to feature that as a form of transportation between those resorts. I think there's something special there that adds a little bit of flavor to that part of the park. I think it's a feature that those deluxe resort hotels add, the walking distance as a form of transportation to a park and to other resorts and other pools. So I felt like I wasn't cheating that much to say your own 2 feet, because you would be an idiot to take a bus from one of those parks to Magic Kingdom, depending on the weather.
Right. I mean, I think it is very cool just to be able to walk from the Polynesian to the Grand Floridian, you know? You're going like worlds apart in the matter of moments, basically. Walking on the beach there, seeing the castle to your right or to your left, depending on which way you're walking. It's great. It's awesome. I think people should utilize, walking more. I know you're walking a lot in the parks and stuff, but there's a lot of great walking options.
You're not doing any standing in line at the TTC if you're walking from the Contemporary to Magic Kingdom.
Exactly. That's a good one. So for my number 4, I wrote just buses in general. I don't know why I like the buses so much. They should be like just...
They did not make my list because I picked the feet over the buses.
Yeah, they should just be like a completely overlooked
hate 'em.
options. Yeah. And I feel like that is a big thing. I think they're very polarizing because it's kind of a crapshoot. It's like what it is Ohana. Ohana is the restaurant in the Polynesian where you get family style.
Yeah.
You're served family style. People come around with meat on skewers and they just slice off stuff for you. Half the people say they love it. Half the people say they hate it. And the people who hate it, it's the same reason. They feel rushed and they feel like the food is cold, right?
Ooh,
and it's always
yeah.
that. And that's just a product of their environment. With the buses, I feel like people either are okay with them or they absolutely hate them. The reason they absolutely hate them, and they say, we wait forever and ever and ever. Well, the people who are okay with them say, no, we wait like 10 minutes. It's a crapshoot.
Yeah.
There's too many buses to actually be consistent in that. They do hit their marks as best as humanly possible, but sometimes it's just the lights get in the way. Sometimes it's a wheelchair that they have to unload and unload.
Yep.
Things just happen. For me, I just like, because it's a slow way to get you ready. Like I was saying, you see the name of the park or Disney Springs that you're going to go to.
Slow burn.
Yes, slow burn, exactly. You step on, you see a cast member, you start driving, and then you hear, hello, and welcome aboard. And it's just that normal, iconic voice that you hear on every single bus. And then depending on where you're going, the music starts playing up. It ties into where you're going. As you pass by, you're like, oh, look, there's Epcot. We're going there tomorrow. Oh, look, they're building that over at Hollywood Studios. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just think it's a cool way to also set the tone for your day.
All right, I'll give you a pass. It did not make my list.
Thank you.
I guess my number 4 was Magical Express. So my number 3, Connor, I know this will make your list, but you're probably going to be a little bit more specific than me. I'm going with number 3 is the resort boats. Particularly the ones that I wanted to point out in my list were taking a boat out of Port Orleans or Riverside or from Wilderness Lodge. I just think that those boats fit the theming very well over there. If you like a relaxing ride to a park, I don't think there's any better way than getting the wind in your hair, those lengthy locks on a boat between a resort or a park. Not a ferry, mind you, a boat, please. The ferry did not make the list. A resort boat made the list.
A boat. So, and specifically, you were saying the ones you like to take are the ones from Wilderness or the ones from Port Orleans.
Yes. I think that the theming lends itself very well to the boat feel going through, the bayou or going through the wilderness. And then there's just two. I rode the resort boat from Hollywood Studios all the way over to Epcot through all the resorts last time. Over there in the Epcot loop. But and I'm not saying I got sick or anything. It's just a lot of spinning around in the lake, though. It's a lot of back and forth and over and under, and you don't travel that far. It's just not as scenic.
Oh yeah, I had one resort boat in particular on my list.
Okay. You can keep it hidden if you don't want to give away any more detail.
Okay, I'll talk about the other ones I didn't pick in this. I like how the resort boats, for the most part, are all different, right? You have your Epcot boat, which is called the friendship boats. Those are those big. It almost looks like a sub, like a Subway sandwich sub, Those are very cool, just because I think they're unique. But I am with you. It's not so much that it's spinning or things like that. It's just there's a lot of stops if you want to go from one theme park in Hollywood Studios to Epcot in the other. You got the Swan and Dolphin, you have Yacht and Beach, you have Boardwalk, and then you're going to get there.
It's just all jammed in there. Not that any of the theming's bad. It's like kind of, you're checking off a list.
I will say, if you are in a friendship boat and you're in Crescent Lake, which is the lake between the Boardwalk and Yacht and Beach, and it's nighttime, it's a very, very, very cool time to be on the water there.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's the time to ride it.
The littler boats through Magic Kingdom, those are cool. They look like kind of like a really, really short steamboat, like it could almost be a sailboat.
Old-timey. Yeah, those at nighttime, I just have a very vivid picture of that in my head.
Let me tell you something, though. Those are close to the water. They are real close. But then the other ones, I completely agree with you. It's like something, the wind in your hair. The wind in your hair. So I'll do my number 3 now. And I'm going to be specific with this one as well. The monorail, but the resort monorail.
Yeah, there you go. That's a big one.
So
that's number 3. Wow.
Yeah, number 3. I think, where else in the world can you ride a monorail? Very, very few people. Very, very few places. Maybe Shelbyville, Springfield,
Japan,
arch nemesis in the Simpsons. Shelbyville,
Shelbyville, yeah,
got a monorail. But it's just iconic, for whatever reason. I have a monorail poster on my wall right now as it's coming through the A-frame of the Contemporary. It's just cool.
Beautiful.
It ties perfectly into Tomorrowland, into the future, it's almost cartoony, It's like, oh, well, what place other than Disney World would have a transportation method like the monorail?
You know what, Connor? It's my number 2, so I'm just going to join in the fun on this one. The monorail system is my number 2.
So you like this system, totally.
Yeah. Like you said, I just had to jump. I had to say it now. It is so unmistakably Disney. The single stripe up the side, the monorail. It is as connected to the Disney experience as I'd say Cinderella's Castle. Really, think about it. It's so vividly Disney.
Yeah. And just the way it cuts through the air, everywhere you can see it. But I will say the reason I picked the resort one is I just think I like using it to resort hop,
Yes.
1 second you're in the Magic Kingdom, then you're in the Contemporary, you're in the Grand Canyon Concourse there. It's so cool to look at. You hop back on it, you head over to the Polynesian, and then you head over to the Grand Floridian. But there's something so cool whenever you come out of one of the stations and you look back or you look across and you see the castle and you're like, I'm on a monorail. What the heck is a monorail? And I'm looking at Cinderella Castle.
Yeah, that and I know you're thinking of this too, is when you take that curve around the monorail
Yep.
loop towards Magic Kingdom uphill, it is the moment. It is a moment right there where you're like, oh, we are going to the Magic Kingdom right now.
Oh, yeah. And then, I mean, I do like the ride from the TTC out to Epcot.
Yeah.
I like it mostly just because you go through Epcot.
I was going to say because you go through the park, which of course, that was the one section of track that I didn't get to ride on my last trip. But yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
Because I took it out of Epcot, not into Epcot.
Ooh.
You don't get to say goodbye. They just ship you right out.
See ya. Adios.
Yeah, I'll just wrap up on my monorail system number 2. Unmistakably Disney. I just think there's no Disney World trip without at least stepping foot on the monorail.
Yep. The monorail tip for us would be if you're at the TTC and you're looking for options to get to Magic Kingdom, if the Magic Kingdom monorail, which only stops at the TTC, Ticketing Transportation Center, and Magic Kingdom, if it looks super, super busy, just hop on the resort monorail. Yeah, it's going to be a couple stops. So what? It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah,
you might have
you'll probably get a place to sit, to be honest, because you're the first one on it.
Place to sit. It can be a little more relaxed, less pushing, less shoving.
One on it, yeah.
That's our monorail tip.
Yeah, one of the busiest monorail systems in the world. It used to be the one that it was like the number one used, but now a couple in Japan and China have surpassed it.
Thanks, China.
Thanks a lot, guys. The monorail's Disney's.
So we're both on.
You're about to tell me your number 2.
My number
Connor.
2. So I picked. My number 2 is the resort boats that we were talking about, and more specifically, the Fort Wilderness or Wilderness Lodge boats.
Beautiful.
You might even throw Contemporary in here, but it's a very short boat for that. These boats basically go behind Magic Kingdom, and a lot of the times they just send whatever boats they have out there. They're the bigger ones, like the kind of two level ones.
It is a hodgepodge.
Yeah, the smaller ones on the water. I like it just because, especially when you're going out to Fort Wilderness, which is all the way at the very, very back of Bay Lake, it just feels like you're in a completely different world out there, It feels a lot more, it's much less undeveloped, secluded. You can kind of see off in the distance River Country, which is a defunct water park that probably will be demolished in a couple years.
Don't swim out there.
Don't swim out there. Stay out of lakes. But it's just something cool, just because in the hustle and bustle of a Disney trip, I think the boats are a great way to just take a deep breath.
That is the ultimate decompression transit, for sure.
Ultimate.
That's our tip there. I think it's inarguably the easiest one to relax on. I mean, you are very rarely on, especially a resort boat. A ferry might be a little different. You are very rarely on one where you're not able to sit down. I think you have to be able to sit. I think it's a safety code.
No, you can stand. You can
I
stand
haven't ever stood
on the friendship ones, especially.
Boy,
yeah, but like the smaller ones, yeah, you can't stand. So it's all about how big the boat is, if you can stand or not. But also, not every day, no matter where you are in the world, are you using boats as a transportation method.
Very true.
In your regular life. Obviously you're not using the monorail. You could be using the metro, the subway system every single day, a train.
I actually live in Venice, so.
Oh, that's right. You do have your own little skipper parked right outside your apartment.
Yeah.
Venice is sinking, so get out while you can.
Okay.
So that was my number 2. So we're both on number 1, and I feel like they're both going to be the same thing.
Oh, no. I'm nervous.
This is good. You go, Hank.
TTA, People Mover.
Oh,
I know I cheated.
I like it. I was thinking about doing something like the Walt Disney World Railroad in Magic Kingdom, because I was like, oh, well, that has stops and stuff. But no, I'm glad you picked this. Go on. Go for it.
Connor and I have talked about this ride before. It is the beloved People Mover of Tomorrowland, aka the Tomorrowland, or operated by the Tomorrowland Transit Authority. And I think what tipped me over the point to say, like, yeah, I know it's got an entrance and a queue and an exit and you get off at the same points, but Walt always wanted the People Mover to connect and take you through spaces. It was instrumental, or was going to be instrumental, in his renderings of Epcot and what Epcot was supposed to be, the actual prototype community of tomorrow. And it exists still in the Magic Kingdom, and you can't ride it in the way that you can out in Disneyland. And it just feels like the perfect implementation. Not perfect. It's the last surviving point of this People Mover experiment that Walt always wanted, and it is so damn fun. And it's like, how long is it, Connor? 10 minutes? It feels longer.
I think it's pretty close to that. I agree completely with what Hank is saying. Its intention was to be a method of transportation. I was even on Twitter the other day, and some person was talking about, why don't you just create like a set of People Mover things throughout Walt Disney World, like instead of expanding the monorail or whatever, just put People Movers everywhere.
That'd be amazing.
That'd be amazing. I mean, it'd be incredible.
And impractical.
And at one point, it was called the WED Way People Mover. WED, short for Walter Elias Disney, and WED was also the name of the company WED Enterprises that became Imagineering. So this was something that he was trying to basically create, like the monorail even, basically create a method of transportation that people could use that was, energy efficient, that was reliable, that could get you quickly, comfortably, and safely from point A to point B. Obviously, we never got to that point, but it is a great method of transportation. I'm so proud of you for putting it as your number one.
I'm happy that I could pull that through.
Okay, my number one.
Here we go.
I was surprised that I had this as my number one, but I think it's because I don't ride it very often. But when I do, I always seem to have a smile on my face. And this one can get incredibly crazy. But if you time it right, if you go at the right time, it can be awesome. And that is the ferry at the Magic Kingdom.
You like the ferry. Okay, lay it on me.
From the
TTC
to the Magic Kingdom. Like I said, I don't do it a whole lot. I typically stay on property.
I think the timing was key. That's what you got to say. I've only ridden a handful of times, and Connor, kind of like you said with the buses, for me it was like, too crowded.
Yeah, it's just going to get me here. It's just going to get me there. There's something incredible, especially if you go up on the top floor, or you go as far forward as possible, and you're going from the TTC to the Magic Kingdom, and the castle and the train station and the turnstiles are just getting closer and closer and closer,
Yeah.
And it's this mass of people, and everyone's excited, and you can start to hear the music and the other people out there, and you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm so close, I'm so close, I'm so close. And it's transporting you from a world of reality to the world of fantasy, right? In like just minutes.
That's pretty cool.
And it's just going, it seems like you're going 50 miles an hour, but it's taking you for...
How long is the ferry boat from the TTC to Magic Kingdom?
I mean, I feel like it's only a few minutes, It's not as long as people actually
It's
think.
a straight line.
Exactly.
That thing just goes back and forth all day.
Back and forth. There was a legend that said it was on tracks because it would go so straight. I believe that has been proven incorrect. There are 3, though. Hank, can you name any one of them? 2 are identical. One is very, very close, but it's different. Hit it.
Allow me to say, no, I can't.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. We have the Richard F. Irvine, the Admiral Joe Fowler,
Oh, I did know that one.
and the General Joe Potter. The two Joes, Admiral Joe Fowler and General Joe Potter, they're like, one was an Army Corps of Engineer guy, one was the governor of the Panama Canal, and then both of them came to work for Disney in the creation of Disneyland and Walt Disney World, like overseeing all the construction, all the land buying and acquisitions of that. And then Richard F. Irvine was an art director and one of the bigger art directors for the theme parks and stuff. So that's pretty cool. That's something that at Disney, there's always a meaning. Whenever you see a name, it's going to be someone important.
Yeah, there's going to be some history to it.
So that's pretty cool. That's a cool way to be honored, getting guests to and from the most magical place in the world.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Well, Hank, I think this was a good discussion.
I very much enjoy, I think, let's start where we started. The transportation at Disney World is certainly much more of a part of the fun, just instead of a means for an end.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Well, I think that's going to do it for us this week. Let us know what your favorite Walt Disney World method of transportation is. We want to hear what you think. As always, thank you so very much for listening to the WDW Opinion Podcast. Be sure to rate and review us on iTunes or Google Play or wherever you listen to podcasts. For Hank, I'm Connor. We'll see you real soon.